Welcome to the first edition of the Fantasy Football Goon podcast. I'm the Goon, Joe Mandel, and with me for today's podcast is Steve Nobilski, who we call Knobs. So welcome, Steve.
Hey, nice to be here, Joe.
It's good to have you on the podcast, man.
Thanks.
So, first edition here of our podcast. So what I'm thinking is let's talk a little bit about rankings, and you can give me some of the issues you have with mine, and then we can kind of go over a little bit of discussion there, man.
All right, sounds good.
So I'll start with quarterback. Obviously this year I think Andrew Luck is just going to go nuts. Him and Indy's got all his weapons. You got Frank Gore.
You got Andre Johnson now.
Andre Johnson,
So-
T.Y. Hilton. You got guys like Dante Moncrief in like the outskirts. I mean, you got some good players in Indy, and I don't think anyone's better than Luck. People have Rodgers higher, but I don't.
Yeah, Indy looks really good. I would have had Aaron Rodgers higher, then Jordy Nelson got injured. So, I mean,
Right.
I think Andrew Luck's in a great place in that top spot this year.
Yeah, and we all know Rodgers is going to do well. I have him ranked number 2. I mean,
Yeah,
who wouldn't want Aaron Rodgers on your fantasy team?
exactly. You know the guy's going to throw almost every game 300 yards. I mean, you know what you're getting with those top
Right,
QBs.
And I mean, a lot of guys are asking me the question, and I've gotten people asking me this like a couple times a week now. You know, is Andrew Luck worth a first round pick? That's a hard question to answer. Depends what your strategy is, but if you're in a 2 QB league, absolutely. If you really want a good quarterback and you think he's gonna like set the world on fire, go for it. For me, no. I don't take a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to justify any quarterback first round depending on your pick. I mean, if you're sitting around that 5th pick or something, you're thinking about a quarterback. I mean, you're still going to be able to take any number of running backs. You know, you got a Matt Forte or a Marshawn Lynch still you're looking at,
Right.
and around that pick. So, I mean, there's no reason to necessarily take him first round. I mean, second round, absolutely. First, I'm not so convinced.
But fantasy listeners, remember you can do what you like. We're just here to give you our advice. So just going through the quarterback rankings a little bit more. Obviously, we have Andrew Luck leading the way, followed by Rodgers. I have Russell Wilson at number 3, which I think is a lot of people might give me some hate on, but people forget Russell Wilson scores points by rushing, lots of rushing yards, and lots of rushing touchdowns. Steve, how do you feel about Russell Wilson?
I like him there. I mean, what you're looking at in your quarterback is someone who's going to get you a lot of points every week, and Russell Wilson does that, right? So, I mean, why not take him?
I mean, people point out that last year, you know, he was very inconsistent fantasy-wise. I mean, obviously he's a good quarterback, but I think, you know, you add Jimmy Graham, you know, they traded Max Unger, their center, to New Orleans. So what's Russell Wilson going to have to do a lot of? Probably run.
Yeah, probably.
Probably going to be running for his life quite a bit. Not that their new center is bad, but he's not Max Unger.
Well, and it's going to be hard to tell how well he's doing, you know, until you see a couple games out of him.
Yeah.
See what's actually happening with that line.
Yeah, so Russell Wilson at number 3. We got followed by Peyton Manning, Matt Ryan, Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, Tom Brady. So, I mean, people are really hating on Peyton Manning this year. Granted, he was not healthy towards the end of last year, and it was pretty bad. But they're saying he's healthy. From what I've seen so far, I believe he is. Do I know if he can give us a full season of healthy Peyton Manning? I don't know.
That's hard to say. I mean, he is getting older, right? And with that
true.
comes the higher injury risk.
Well, Father Time's catching up with him, right? But the guy can still throw a football better than almost anyone on the planet. So.
I mean, he's definitely a top quarterback in the league when he's healthy. No doubt.
I don't have any problem starting him.
Yeah. I mean, he's a weekly starter, you know. He's not going to be someone sitting back in a second QB spot on the bench or something.
Yeah. I mean, most of our top 10 guys here, I don't have any problem starting week by week.
No, exactly. I mean, I'd even move Tom Brady up a couple a spot or two now that the suspension was overturned.
Yeah, I have him ranked as 8 underneath Drew Brees. If I had to look at this again now, I think I would move Brady to 7 and Brees to 8, just because I think New Orleans is going to be a big running team this year because they got Max Unger, like I said, from Seattle. Yeah. They gave Mark Ingram that big contract, and they signed C.J. Spiller, who's hurt right now, but when he comes back, I expect him to catch a lot of balls out of the backfield, which is good for Brees. But I don't think he's going to be as bad as he was last year.
No, last year was terrible. I regret taking him, but
you took him pretty early, if I remember correctly. I want to say
I think it was second or
third round last year. And that's why your team was terrible.
That did not work for me. It screwed my entire draft. But I mean, this year, yeah, definitely with C.J. Spiller, he's looking at getting some good short passes down. But I mean, is he gonna? The team as a whole is more my question. With they've had a lot of changes the last couple of years. Is it going to be enough? Are they going to be able to take that and make a lot of it, or are they going to kind of fall a little flat again like they did last season?
So that we gave you our top 9. I guess at number 10 we have Cam Newton, but I don't love Newton this year. It's why he's a 10, but he's going to throw a lot, and we'll see what happens there. But onto the sleeper portion of quarterbacks, all the way down at number 17 and number 15, I have 15 Sam Bradford and 17 Carson Palmer. I think both those guys, get them on your team. Get them on your team because these guys are going to go off this year. Bradford comes from St. Louis. He's healthy again. Obviously in St. Louis he didn't have the greatest talent around him, but now he's healthy. He's in Philly. Chip Kelly is going to throw the ball a lot.
Yeah.
And he's got some great receivers in Jordan Matthews and Nelson Aguilar, who's rookie this year. I'm just loving Sam Bradford. And then you go down to Carson Palmer. I mean, when he was healthy last year, just putting up tons of points. I think, off the top of my head, I want to say it was around 20 or 22 points a game when he was healthy, which is really awesome for a quarterback that you can get really late in the draft.
Yeah.
Carson Palmer, I'm telling you, draft him, get him on your team.
Easy. Yeah, easy pickups right there. I mean, 10th, 11th round even, you could probably pick one of them up and sit them on your bench, see how they do.
That's why I said don't take a quarterback in the first round, because the quarterback talent is deep this year. It really is. And those two guys are going to help you in your draft. Let's move on. Let's move on to running back, Steve.
All right.
So, top 5. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got AP, Adrian Peterson, Le'Veon Bell at number 2, Eddie Lacy at number 3, Jamal Charles at 4, and C.J. Anderson at number 5. So AP, AP's number 1. People are like, oh, who's the number 1 running back this year? I'm like, well, to me, it's the easiest answer of all right now. The guy didn't play a single down. Oh, wait, he did. He played in 1 game last year. I'm sorry. He played in the first game of the season, and then he didn't play at all. He's got fresh legs. He's healthy. He's in good shape. The Vikings are going to use him constantly. He's going to run out of the backfield. He's going to catch balls. The guy's just going to do it all. Mix that in with Teddy Bridgewater, who I think is going to get even more solid than he was last year. They added some weapons. So, I mean, you got Charles Johnson at receiver, who they drafted. They picked up Mike Wallace. They still have Cordarrelle Patterson, who was a dud last year, but, who knows what they can do once they have all the cylinders clicking. Then you got Kyle Rudolph. I think that's going to open up a lot of things for AP this year, and I think it's a no-brainer for number 1.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have Le'Veon Bell too. A lot of people give me some shit for that, but he's missing the first 2 games. I get it, but once he's in there, I mean, Le'Veon Bell is a monster. I mean, he does everything. I know that revolves around him being healthy, and you can say that about any running back in the National Football League, but Le'Veon Bell is the Pittsburgh offense.
Yeah, he absolutely is. I mean, again, going back to the health issue, it's any position in the game. It's a physical game. People are going to have health problems now and again. Injuries happen. It's not a guarantee, but
Right.
I mean, he comes back healthy, he has a solid season.
And in fantasy, we know injuries are a problem, but what we want is a workhorse back. A guy that's going to get the rock 15 to 20 times a game, maybe more, catch passes, score touchdowns. That's it. These guys are going to do it. I mean, I have Eddie Lacy at number 3. It's a bruising back. That guy is just going to, like, run into you and just keep going. Like, the guy is he's like a plow.
And I mean, yeah, going back to the Jordy Nelson injury again, I mean,
That makes Eddie Lacy even more valuable now.
Yeah, exactly. Randall Cobb having some of the trouble in the preseason then, health-wise. I mean, how can you not love Eddie Lacy this year right now? I mean,
he's going to score a lot of touchdowns.
Exactly. He's going to get a lot of touches. He's going to get a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns. That's the end of it. I mean, that's just points.
Right. I mean, Eddie Lacy's a winner for sure. Got Jamal Charles at number 4, who lately is really sneaking up on me. I'm loving him the more I see of him. I think he could sneak into, he could be a guy at 4 that may finish. He could very well finish as the top running back in the league this year. I mean, Kansas City's totally retooled their team. They finally have a receiver. Got Jeremy Maclin. I mean, a guy that can catch a pass.
Yeah,
I'd say. They're going to score a touchdown with a receiver this year. But now that they have at least a little bit of a passing game, that opens things up for Charles. Let's be honest there. I mean, think about it. They had virtually no receiving threats aside from Travis Kelce last year.
Yeah.
No receivers, if I remember correctly, scored a single touchdown for the Chiefs last year.
Yeah, and I mean, when all you can do is run, I mean, what's the opposing team going to do? They're just going to shut down the run, and they shut down your game.
Which speaks a lot to Charles because he didn't just get shut down.
No, he didn't. Absolutely, and I think that's a good reason why he's way up on that list.
Yeah, I mean, Jamal Charles is going to be a stud for you. Get him on your team. Same thing with the next guy on the list, C.J. Anderson. People are sleeping on C.J. this year. I don't know about you, Steve, but I remember C.J. last year just destroying the league and helping me win one of my leagues and then assisting in a lot of other people's fantasy victories.
He just last year came out of nowhere. And
he did. I mean,
destroyed everything.
You know who I drafted in the third round last year? I got Monty Ball.
Yeah.
In the third round of the draft last year.
Yeah, I remember that.
That worked out really good for me. He goes down. Ronnie Hillman comes in. He does pretty good. Ronnie Hillman gets hurt. Then enters C.J. Anderson, who just destroys the league. If he can stay healthy throughout this year, I believe he's just going to be. I think he'll be a definite top 5 back. Listen, Gary Kubiak, the way that he's going to run that offense. I mean, look at all the offenses that he had.
Yeah.
Look what he did with Justin Forsett last year in Baltimore.
Exactly. They're going to run the ball, no question. I mean, yes, it's Peyton Manning.
But an older Peyton Manning.
Yeah. He's still going to want to throw, but he knows that they can't rely entirely on an air game. They have to have some running game in there. And, I mean, a lot of where his success lies is in the play action. So,
for sure.
Without a good back there, that game just falls apart.
And C.J. Anderson's going to open it up.
Exactly.
I do recommend, though, if you have Anderson, you can say this with all the backs, but I think, especially with Anderson, you want to handcuff him to Ronnie Hillman, who had a hell of a fucking preseason. Sorry for the F-bomb, but what are you going to do? It's a podcast. What's up next? I got Matt Forte, Marshawn Lynch, and Mark Ingram. I think these 3 guys are in a very similar tier. I was actually in a position in a draft with Steve last week, and I had the 7th pick, and instead of he was sitting on 8th, and it comes to me, and the 2 running backs on the board were Marshawn Lynch and Matt Forte, and I went against my own rankings, and I took Marshawn Lynch over him. I think the reason being is that I think Marshawn is going to score more touchdowns this year. I don't know why. Maybe because Forte just put a bad taste in my mouth last year with how he was the only decent player on the Bears.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the Bears, I mean, I guess that whole team right now is
The team is in shambles. I would agree.
Yeah.
No one's healthy.
Matt Forte was the only one who could make yardage aside from Alshon Jeffrey really last year, and somewhat Brandon Marshall, but almost overshadowed there.
Yeah, so that's why I got Forte. If I had to redo this Raiders rankings again in my head right now, I think I'd move Marshawn to 6 and then put Forte down to 7. But either way, both are good backs. You want them both on your team. Mark Ingram following there at number 8, who I love Mark Ingram this year. If you weren't paying attention in the offseason, the Saints traded Jimmy Graham, their tight end monster, to Seattle, and in return they have Seattle center, now Saints center, Max Unger, who is one of the top centers in the league, in my opinion. And I think it really tells you a lot about the way New Orleans is going to go, because they got rid of Graham. They had Breeze, who had a terrible season. Well, I'd say he had a terrible season last year.
He did have a terrible season.
He was pretty bad. But now, he's going to be throwing the ball, but I think they're going to be a run-first team. Mark Ingram is going to be a workhorse back in that system. I think he's going to be a 3-down guy. They'll put in Spiller when he's healthy. He's not right now. I don't think he's going to start the regular season. But they'll put Spiller in and catch passes out of the backfield, but I don't think Spiller is going to do a whole lot of running. I think it's going to be Mark Ingram's team.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're in a PPR league, Spiller is still definitely worth
picking
up it on your bench and see what happens.
Spiller has a ton more value in PPR leagues for sure.
Yeah,
because he's going to catch passes. He is, and you can get him late. People forget about him. Don't sleep on Spiller.
I picked him up. I think it was 12th round.
Yeah, it's worth a late round flyer on him for sure. I don't have any problem with you taking him there, because he's a guy that could be high upside. If Mark Ingram goes down at some point, Spiller would have more value, obviously. But Ingram's the guy in New Orleans. Personally, people call me crazy, but I think he's going to go over 1,000 yards, and I personally think he's going to score about 7 or 8 touchdowns.
I think easy. I mean, you've got Unger now, and I mean, look at Seattle. What did they do? What did he do for Lynch?
Right.
Run, score touchdowns. That's all they did.
I take that back. I can see him scoring over 10 touchdowns, because let me tell you why. He's a goal line. He's a guy. He's going to get a lot of goal line carries. He's going to catch some balls out of the backfield. And yeah, I think 10. I'm going to go 10 or 11 for Ingram. Liking Ingram a lot this year. I have DeMarco Murray at number 9. I don't love Murray this year. I know Philly's going to be good, but DeMarco Murray ran the ball about 10 billion times last season.
Yeah.
And he had a really good line, and he took a lot of hits, and the guy was a monster. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on DeMarco Murray. I just think he's in a system now where there's going to be 3 guys sharing carries with him in the backfield.
Yeah.
You got DeMarco Murray. Why can't I think right now? DeMarco Murray, Ryan Matthews, and Darren Sproles. 3 guys that are going to touch the ball a lot in that system.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Murray is the featured back. But those 2 guys are enough for me to move Murray down to number 9. And, potentially he could be out of the top 10 in performance this year.
Yeah, I mean, when you're splitting carries like that, it's hard to say that he's going to get the touches he needs to keep putting consistent fantasy points on the board every week.
Yeah, I just think where he's going in drafts, it's too high of a price for a guy that I think isn't going to be a workhorse like he's not going to get anywhere near the points he did last year, in my opinion. Like, he's going in the second round. He's going in the second round. Some leagues in the early third round, and for me, I can't do it. Mm-hmm. I think if you can get him in, the 4th to 5th round, go for it. But I don't know. I think it's too early where he's going right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a case of know what you're getting with him and don't overpay. Absolutely. I mean, it's so easy to overpay for guys who've done well in the past on just that laurel, and it's really not worth overpaying for anyone.
Speaking of overpaying, LaShawn McCoy is next on our list. He's a guy I overpaid for last year. I took him first overall last
Yeah,
year.
did not do too well.
Yeah, it was
with
my
that pick.
first pick last year. Still won the league, though,
Somehow.
which is impressive. First pick overall last year, I took LaShawn McCoy, and it was the greatest mistake I've ever made. But he's in Buffalo now. The offensive line is still not great. He's not healthy right now. Actually, they're thinking he might not play in week 1, which, if that's you, don't start him.
Yeah.
Obviously, pay attention to what's going on this week, but it doesn't sound like he's anywhere near 100%. But McCoy is just a guy that, he's going to get the job done, but he's not a safe pick by any means, especially after last year. How do you feel about LaShawn McCoy this year, Steve?
I don't know. I'm not sold on him this year. I think his line is going to be similar to what he had in Philly. It's not going to be
Last season?
Yeah.
You think he's going to be like as poor as he was last year?
I don't know about as poor, but I think the offense. When you're comparing the two offensive lines, I don't think you're going to get much of a difference that's going to make a ton of make it too promising to take him.
Yeah.
And start him week by week for me.
Do you think it was a mistake for Buffalo to cut Fred Jackson?
I think it was. Yeah.
Because now he's signed with Seattle.
Yeah. And he'll sit behind Lynch, but as we've all seen in the past with Seattle's backs, even behind Lynch, they still put up numbers. It's almost like Ben Tate behind Arian Foster a few years ago.
A couple years ago, yeah.
He's a starter anywhere else.
Let's look at what Fred Jackson did last year in relief of. Well, let's put it this way. He's been a monster for a long time. I don't know how I got talking about Fred Jackson. It's because we're talking about Shady McCoy.
Yeah.
But I think Fred Jackson was a mistake for them to cut him because veteran guy behind McCoy would have been nice. But long story short, McCoy not loving him this year. We'll go a little bit further. We'll go down to 15. So we'll go from 10 to 15. So at 11 I got Alfred Morris. 12 I have Jeremy Hill, who I think the more I watch him, the more I move him up in my rankings. I think I should move him up. 13 I got Lamar Miller. 14 Carlos Hyde, and 15 Justin Forsett. So Alfred Morris, the more I watch him this preseason, the more I hate him.
I'm not sold.
Buffalo. Jeez, I'm so stuck on McCoy. Washington,
yeah.
The Redskins really have their work cut out for them this season. The whole drama with RG3, how now he's a second-string quarterback. Kirk Cousins is the guy. Alfred Morris, just every year he seems to be getting worse and worse.
Yeah, I think that team's got a lot of trouble that they have to work out, and until they do, I don't think anyone on that team's really going to perform where a lot of people may expect them to. Locker room troubles and anything like that sort can all affect the play on field, and you want to minimize that as much as possible. But with Morris now, you've got, like you just said, all that trouble with RG3.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on him.
Well, then they have rookie Matt Jones that's going to steal some carries from Morris inevitably.
Yeah.
And if Morris starts to struggle and you get a young buck like Jones, not that Alfred Morris isn't young, but you get a guy like Jones who's coming in, who's got a lot of talent, just kicking some ass out there. It's gonna ultimately, I think, take away some carries from Morris and move him down. So I'm not loving Morris now. The more and more I see. If I had to redo this right now in my head, I think I'd move him down to probably about 17 or 18. But shortly after Morris, number 12, I have Jeremy Hill, who's a guy that just keeps on moving up in my head, man. Cincinnati loves Jeremy Hill. I think he has the ability to finish in the top 3 this season at running back. He's got the potential. The kid's a stud.
He's got the potential, but I think you got to wait and see where the season goes for him. It's a little soon for me to be moving him much past where he's at.
I have him at 12 on my list, but I'm telling you, the kid's got a lot of talent, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him finish in the top 3 or 4. Long story short, get Jeremy Hill because he's going to do some good for you. I have Lamar Miller from Miami at number 13, who's had a very solid preseason. He had a good year last year. Miami improved quite a bit in the offseason. I don't see why Lamar Miller can't continue his success. Did you have him last year, Steve? I don't know.
No, I didn't have him last year. I don't remember who took him.
But long story short, I mean, Lamar Miller is a guy who could have another breakout season. Like, I wouldn't say last year was a breakout season when he was good, but I could see him, really taking it to the next level this year, especially if Ryan Tannehill turns it on like I think he's going to. I have Tannehill ranked number 11, but I still think he's going to have a good offensive season, open up the run game quite a bit, so that makes him valuable. And then followed by that, I have Carlos Hyde and Justin Forsett. Carlos Hyde is the guy in San Francisco now.
Yeah, he is.
They may not be a great team, but if you can get a workhorse back in fantasy, a guy that's going to be like running the ball quite a bit, I pick him up for sure.
Yeah, it's the same reason I'd say, Colin Kaepernick's not the worst backup to have on your bench. They're going to put points up every week. They're not going to put enough. They're not going to put as many points up as one of your top guys, one of your top picks, someone you're starting every week. But for a bye week, somebody to fill in on injury if you really need somebody, hey, great pickups, know.
Well, another reason Kaepernick's a good guy to have is because they're going to be playing from behind quite a bit.
Exactly.
They're going to be throwing because their defense is brutal.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah.
I would be surprised if the 49ers won 4 games this year.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks. 49ers are terrible. Don't make any bets on them unless it's for them to lose. Where was I? Carlos Hyde. I love
Justin
Carlos
Forsett.
Hyde. Now we're on to Justin Forsett, who I have ranked 15th, but I think he has just a ton of talent. And Baltimore, who's the new offensive coordinator in Baltimore? Steve, do you know?
Oh, I forgot his name.
It's Mark Trestman.
There you go.
I think we used to. I think in the Chicagoland area we know who he is.
I just tried to block that.
Yeah, you tried to block that memory.
That out of my mind. That was a couple terrible years, but.
Yeah. Well, for those of you listening who don't know, if you don't know, then I'm surprised. But regardless, Mark Trestman was the head coach of the Chicago Bears the last 2 seasons, and now he's not. He is the offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, and they're going to run the ball.
They definitely are going to run the ball, and that's where Forsett comes in. I mean, providing he gets some good holes in the line in that, some good open field, he runs the ball a ton.
And Flacco's going to open it up.
Yeah, he will.
I love Justin Forsett. I mean, he was MVP for a lot of people in fantasy last season. He kind of came out of nowhere, but Ray Rice goes away.
Yeah,
he comes in, saves the day.
Well, and he's
that
also
rhymed, by the way.
Yeah.
Again.
And I mean, Justin Forsett's definitely also another one good in a PPR league. At least historically, he tends to catch some passes.
He's going to catch some passes out of the backfield for sure.
So you're talking about now receiving yards in addition to running yards. The possibility of receiving touchdowns too. I mean, he's a real threat in the backfield. So I mean, maybe not quite as much as like or definitely not as much as an Eddie Lacy or a Jamal Charles, but I mean, you're talking about still someone who's very solid sitting in a second running back spot.
Oh, no doubt. Love
easily
Justin Forsett.
Yeah, easily started every week.
Now, before we finish up our segment on running backs, let's go in a little bit on sleeper territory here. I know I have him ranked at number 18, but I still think as a sleeper, a really good sleeper, that is Frank Gore, man, in Indianapolis.
Yeah, that team's looking good this year.
I mean, Andrew Luck. Anytime you have Andrew Luck throwing the ball around, the best quarterback in the league, it's going to open things up for the run game.
Exactly.
And now you finally have some talent at running back.
Well, you've got some
Trent Richardson is gone.
Yeah. Well, and you've also got some talent at wide receiver too to make it possible to actually open up that air game. To throw some further passes down to like Andre Johnson and that. So I mean,
and people are saying how Gore's getting older, and which he is.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's gonna be a solid back. I mean, he's gonna run a lot. He's gonna catch some balls, not a ton. He catches balls out of the backfield. I don't know how they're gonna use him in Indy, but I think he's gonna catch at least a few passes a game out of the backfield, and he's gonna get you what you want. I mean, he's a high end number 2 running back for me.
Yeah.
With the potential to give you running back 1 results.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because he's going to get goal line carries. I mean, they do have Dan Herron there still, but I think he's more of a change of pace guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's when they're looking to change up the pace of the game a little bit. They're gonna change out that backfield, but by and large, I don't see where Frank Gore wouldn't be getting most of the carries.
Exactly. So continuing on our sleeper mode, Latavius Murray in Oakland.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but when he finally got his chance to shine last year, he just destroyed everything.
Yeah.
But he got hurt.
He did
quickly, which is why I have him ranked so low. Because I don't. Granted, I want him on all my teams. I wish I had Latavius Murray on every team I had, because the kid's got a shitload of talent. I just think if he can stay healthy, I know it's a big if, but if he can stay healthy, definite top 15 back. I have him ranked at 21 because I think he might get hurt.
Yeah, I mean, based on what we saw last year, it's hard to say, oh no, he's not going to get there. The chance for injury is low. He didn't play much, and then he was out with injury. So
right, but the guy's got a ton of talent, and where you can get Murray right now, I've seen him go as late as the 8th round. If you can get him in the 8th or 9th round, you're getting a steal.
Yeah, especially if you've got someone really good on your bench, just in case he falls to injury pretty early.
Right. But yeah, if you're getting Murray, make sure you got some other backs on your squad, which I think you will. But Murray's going to be a solid option for sure. So that wraps up our running back section. So let's move on to wide receiver, man.
Yeah.
I have right off the bat, I have a big splash in my rankings.
Yeah.
At number 1, I have Julio Jones.
I don't know.
How do you feel about that, Steve?
I'm not quite as sold on Julio Jones as you this year. I mean, my main concern is Matt Ryan and a lot of the other parts of that offense. But I think if everything works out, Julio Jones is a top receiver.
Well, I think he's a top receiver regardless.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd put him at first, though.
Until he gets hurt.
Yeah.
I think he's going to I'm going to keep my fingers crossed, baby. Julio Jones is going to have a nice, healthy year. Reason I have him number 1 overall, new offense.
Yeah.
They have Matt Ryan still. They have no one to run the ball. And no one else beside Julio Jones to throw it to. So what are they going to do?
Well, I mean,
they're going to throw it to Julio Jones, and he's going to go up and get it.
That's the hope, right? That's the dream.
I mean, I think he's going to set all kinds of records this year. I love Julio.
I think the biggest concern would be that because he is pretty much the only target on that team now. And
they have Jacob Tamme at tight end.
They do.
If you couldn't tell, I was being a little sarcastic there. But
he hasn't been bad in the past, but he has not proven himself the last few seasons. But back to Julio Jones, it's more if you're the only target on a team, then you're the only target the other team has to shut down.
Well,
so
you're that much better if they can't stop you.
Exactly. But that's not going to you got to make sure that you got to see where that's going. I think for me, right. I'm not quite as sold.
That's fair. I have a feeling you'll like my guy at number 2. I have Antonio Brown.
Antonio Brown's definitely solid. He could easily be number 1.
I know you like Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
He's definitely going to catch up to and probably surpass at least 8 balls a game.
Easily.
He's almost guaranteed to catch 8 passes a game at least. The guy's just... Well, Ben Roethlisberger loves him too.
Yeah.
How could you not?
I mean, he catches just about everything that's thrown at him. So, I mean, and it's not like when you've got Le'Veon Bell coming out of that backfield too, and then you can just target Antonio Brown immediately after that on a play action. I mean, you're looking good right there, and he's definitely the top target on that team. He's looking at a lot of passes.
And let me remind you, in the new Madden 16 commercial, his character name is Sticky Bun.
Oh, really?
Sticky.
Yeah.
catches everything. I know I had to spell it out, guys. I know you can't see my hand motion, so I'm sorry. Number 3 got Des Bryant.
Easy.
I mean, the guy's just, Tony Romo loves him, and he goes up and catches everything, including a pass that should have gotten the Cowboys even further in the playoffs, but it was not a catch apparently. But he's going to make a lot of catches that are catches, though.
Yeah. He just puts up a ridiculous amount of points every week, and there's no reason not to take him.
I mean, if you want a top guy who's going to be the hard horse, number 1, Des for sure. Love Des this year. Odell Beckham Jr. number 4. I mean, talk about a guy who broke on the scene last year.
Yeah, I mean, he's another case. I don't know where he came from last year, and all of a sudden I played him, and it was like,
yeah, I forget who had him in our league. I don't know.
It was
me. I had him.
Oh, geez.
And I won the league. Sorry. So yeah, Odell Beckham's going to be a stud. Let's just see if he can repeat it in year 2. I think he can. Eli's going to put it up for him. He's going to go get it.
Yeah, not much to say there.
I mean, there's not much more to say about it than that. Yeah. Demaryius Thomas at number 5. Some people think I have him too low, but I think 5's a good spot.
I think 5's a good spot. Remember a couple of years ago when I took him when he was a rookie, and everyone thought I was insane.
That was good.
And then he went off.
I give you props.
I was pretty happy about that. But then every other year he's been top 5, and then it depends on where you pick.
But yeah, he's a solid guy. He's going to get targeted a lot. Denver, I don't think they're going to throw it as much this year, but I still think Demaryius Thomas will be a top 10 fantasy receiver. No doubts in my mind.
I think it's a similar case to Des Bryant. You're looking at a guy who's pretty much the target for Denver when you got Peyton Manning throwing to him.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's going to catch a lot of balls. He's going to get a lot of touchdowns.
I agree, and I think I could totally change my rankings though. I have Calvin Johnson at number 6, and I think I can easily put him anywhere from 3 to 5.
Yeah,
because I mean he's just gonna be a monster.
Yeah,
there's no doubt. Calvin says he's 100% healthy, which last year he was not. But if he is actually 100% healthy, you can get Johnson as a steal in the mid-second round, sometimes early 3rd round.
That's where I took him. And I'm hoping for the best.
You got him in the 3rd round, right?
Yeah.
Wow, I still can't believe he fell that far.
And it was, I mean, I didn't think he was going to go that far, but I mean, you're looking at a guy who's, if healthy, again, he's going to definitely.
It's a big if, but yeah.
He goes up for the ball, he catches it, runs for a touchdown. I mean,
it's that easy. It makes it look easy. It's like Madden.
Exactly. It's like playing the old Madden, like Madden 95, where you just throw a sweep to the outside and just run it up the sideline every time.
Gotta love that reference. Number 7, I have Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, I'm not sold. I'm not really sold on anyone from the Bears this year. But if anyone deserves to be ranked that high on the Bears, it's Alshon Jeffrey.
Well, he's going to be targeted pretty heavily, I would say.
He will be. Well, with no more Brandon Marshall there, the only other real target that I can see realistically is Martellus Bennett.
Lies. You're forgetting someone.
Well, Matt Forte is going to get plenty of targets.
You're also forgetting someone.
Who am I forgetting?
I have him as a big sleeper, which is a good segue here. Eddie Royal.
I forgot they picked him up this year.
Going to be a PPR machine.
He will be.
I'm going to give you my bold prediction right now. Fantasy world, you can agree with me or you cannot. I think Eddie Royal is going to have a 1,000-yard season, and I think he's going to catch a ton of balls, be a great PPR option. I think his touchdowns might be down a little bit, but I think he's going to go over 1,000 yards, and I'm going to say he's going to have anywhere between 5 or 6 touchdowns. So for a guy you can get really late, I have him ranked 29 because I just love Eddie Royal.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to be a monster because Jeffrey's going to draw a lot of coverage. And Eddie Royal is going to be over the middle because Kevin White's not playing.
Yeah. I mean, my biggest concern would be with that offense, is Jay Cutler going to get the time he needs to throw the ball?
Right.
And I mean, that's been a big problem the last few seasons. And I mean, so far, I don't know that I've seen anything that is going to show otherwise yet. But I mean, if he gets the time he needs, Eddie Royal and Alshon Jeffrey both are going to destroy that league.
Oh, I agree. I love those guys. I just think the Bears defense is so bad that
Yeah.
they're going to be throwing the ball a lot.
Oh, it's going to be a shootout every game.
Yeah. And that's why we like them so much. After Jeffrey, I have Randall Cobb, who's continues to move up in my rankings. I like him at number 8, though. Randall Cobb, no Jordy Nelson.
Yeah. I mean, he had that little bit of knee trouble there in the preseason here, but I mean, if he proves to be healthy, if that's a non-issue, then easily. I don't know how much higher I'd put him, because I think with no Jordy Nelson, they're going to definitely fall back a lot more in their running game, but he's definitely in the top 10.
Well, then you got guys like, you got Randall Cobb, you got Jeff Janis, you got Ty Montgomery, like guys that are gonna eat some targets away from Cobb.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love Randall Cobb. I would like him on all my teams right now, but I think 8's a good spot for him. Get him, if you can get him. I don't know. I'd say he's late 3rd round to early 5th. I've seen him going.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely not going to be taken like Demaryius Thomas or Julio Jones right now, but
he's very comparable talent-wise. I would say comparable to Demaryius Thomas. I don't think he's on the Julio Jones, Dez Bryant, Antonio Brown level, but
I think he could be there possibly this season with no Jordy Nelson. But time is going to tell on that one. Yeah. You're going to have to see how that plays out.
After Cobb, we have A.J. Green in Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
The kid just does it year after year.
Yeah, it's another case. I mean, there's not much to say there. It's like Julio Jones or Antonio Brown. You know exactly what you're getting with the guy when you draft him. You know?
I mean, he's going to put up points, but he's also probably going to miss a few games.
Exactly.
That's why I have him down at number 9. Not because I don't like him, but because I figure he's going to miss 1 or 2 games probably.
Yeah.
And he's got Andy Dalton throwing him the ball, but it doesn't really matter because he still goes up and gets it. I mean, you'll be happy you have him. I was able to sneak and get him late. I think I got him in the 3rd round in our draft. I went Marshawn, Julio, followed by AJ.
Yeah.
So I think that's AJ Green could be your number 1 guy on your team. He just happens to be my number 2, which is great for me.
I think you're looking at a great team if he's your number 2. If he's your number 1, you're still looking at a really solid set of wide receivers. You got putting you points, consistent points on the board every week. So, again, not much to say, but he's gonna get targeted. He's gonna get passes if he's healthy. And I mean, yeah, like you mentioned Andy Dalton, but I mean, again, he'll go up and get it.
No doubt. So where was I? I was on number 9. So rounding out the top 10, I have T.Y. Hilton at number 10.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Do you think I have him too high, too low?
I don't know. I think with Andre Johnson, he's definitely going to be targeted a little less, but I think he's still going to put the points up.
I mean, the guy can just fly out there.
Oh yeah. I mean, Andre Johnson's historically with Houston was getting a lot longer. He was targeted for longer passes. Yeah. T.Y. Hilton definitely is going to be a target for a more rounded play.
Oh, I have no doubt about that. I love T.Y. You know what you're getting with him. He's got the best quarterback in football throwing him the ball all day. Just take him all day. So I'm gonna go into sleeper territory now. So what do you got? Do you have any sleepers for this year, Steve?
I mean, right under your top 15 there, Sammy Watkins at 16. I definitely took him. He was, our draft was a little crazy there for a while. So after we had that tight end run, I was able to pick him up. I think I didn't get him till the 9th round.
Yeah, Sammy Watkins is going to be a guy to watch out for this year. Tyrod Taylor, who is a starter now in Buffalo, loves him.
Yeah.
I mean, Sammy Watkins was a great talent last year, and this year, he's that much better. For a guy you can get late, love him.
Yeah.
So Steve loves Sammy Watkins this year. I'm high on 2 guys right now. I really like Jeff Janis in Green Bay, who is Jordy Nelson. I mean, he's not Obviously, he's not actually Jordy Nelson, but he is the same size, build, weight, same athleticism. I just think Jeff Janis is going to burst onto the scene and be a guy that you can play as a number 2 and borderline, maybe a number 1 towards the late of the season. But I definitely think he could be a number 2, very solid number 3 receiver. And then same goes with Brandon Coleman in New Orleans.
Yeah.
I mean, they cut Nick Toon, which is a ridiculous name, by the way. They cut Nick Toon, and he's been playing in over Marcus Colston in the number 2 receiver spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think I picked up Colston still like last round or something, but I mean, Brandon Coleman's definitely going to be one of the better looking targets for Drew Brees this year.
I mean, the guy's 6'6".
Yeah. Well, and like Jimmy Graham, when Drew Brees, if he can throw it up high and then make someone go get it and bring it down, he's going to do that. So
I mean, Coleman is a guy that's going undrafted in most leagues right now. So if you can get him in the late rounds of the draft, he's a guy that I think has a potential to be a top 25, could be a top 20 receiver, and he's going to score you some touchdowns this year. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah, he's not a guy you're going to put in a first or second spot, but definitely that third wide receiver spot, he's a great pickup there,
and definitely worth the flyer, especially since he's going undrafted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I picked him up off waivers in all my leagues.
Exactly. I mean, keep him on your bench for a week or two, see how he does.
See what he does.
I mean, nothing hurts, right? Odds are your last round pick was probably not that great anyhow, so no one's is.
So risking on a guy that's got a lot of upside. So that kind of rounds out our wide receiver rankings. Since we're in the middle of this, I'm going to go ahead and put in the plug. Go to fantasyfootballgoon.com or .net. I own both of them. Yes, I know, I'm so smart. Check out our rankings. We give all the advice all year round. Check out our Twitter page, our Facebook. This is going to be on our YouTube, and then we're going to link it all over the place. So subscribe, follow, like, all that good stuff. Check us out. Go to our website and go to the Get in the Game tab, and that way you can join our email list. So go ahead, join. Check out our site. We answer all tweets and questions all season long. So no matter when you send us a question, we're going to answer it. It might not be right away, but it'll be within the day for sure. So send us a tweet, send us an email, get at us somehow. We're going to answer your questions. We're a different kind of fantasy analyst. We want you guys to get our answers, and we're going to answer everything you want. So Fantasy Football Goon, we're all about fantasy football. We're all about you. So reach out to us, and we'll answer questions. Back into this stuff, Stevie.
All right.
Enough of the plugs.
Looks like tight ends are coming up next.
Tight ends are coming up next.
So an interesting category this year.
It's such a shocker. It's who I have at number 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think no one's surprised there.
Rob Gronkowski's at number 1, everybody. I think you all probably know that. It depends on what you want to do to get him. He's going in the first round right now.
It's going in the first. I've seen him in the second, but odds are
he's not making it past the second.
No, definitely not. Probably not even past the mid-second.
And rightly so. I think there's no other tight ends like him. Tom Brady loves him.
All. Yeah.
He said he's completely healthy. He's going to start every game. Hopefully, I jinxed it right now for him, but sorry if he gets hurt. It's my fault, guys. But Rob Gronkowski's 100% healthy. He's feeling good, and he did a lot of awkward dancing in the offseason.
Yeah, he did.
So that's another reason I want him on my team, guys. Now, big splash I have at number 2. People don't agree with me. I know Steve doesn't, but I have Travis Kelce from Kansas City ranked at number 2 because I just think the kid is going to continue to dominate like he did last year.
Travis Kelce is definitely he's definitely a top 5, but I would say closer to 5. Personally, I think Jimmy Graham is going to do really well in Seattle. Greg Olsen, another solid pick. I mean, I'm just not sold on number 2, but he's definitely a top tight end.
Yeah, I really think he's gonna go off. I think he has the goods to finish as the number 1 tight end this year. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, the bigger thing with him, too, is Jimmy Graham's going to be taken before him. I mean, you
no
could
doubt.
probably get Kelsey as a steal.
That's what I did earlier.
So, yeah. I mean, what do you think? Like,
I got Kelsey in the 7th round.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, Gronk and Jimmy Graham, they're going early. First and second round.
They're going early, is right.
Greg Olson, he's probably going somewhere around the 4th.
Right.
You're looking at then, I mean, if you can get Travis Kelsey, someone who's definitely a top 5 in 7th or 8th round.
He's great value for where you can get him, and he's a guy that I think is going to finish definitely in the top 5, no doubt about it.
And I mean, other than him, you're looking at someone on the Julius Thomas, Jason Witten scale for that similar round pick.
You brought up Julius Thomas. Word out of Jacksonville is that he's going to have some surgery on his hand, and he's likely to miss the first 4 games. So if you're drafting Julius Thomas, get somebody else with him. He's going to be good when he comes back, but
a quarter of the season's a pretty big hit.
I mean, that's a long time. He might come back earlier, but you gotta be aware when you're drafting him. I mean, I have him all the way down at number 9 because I took that into account because I think he's supposed to miss 4. I say he'll probably miss about 2 or 3, but still that's enough for me to move him down to 9.
Yeah. Well, there's also the chance of re-injury too if he comes back too early.
Yeah.
And rushes himself. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I'm going to dip into sleeper territory a little bit early here. I got 2 of them for you. I have Jordan Cameron from Miami ranked at number 5. Most people have him ranked pretty low. So for me, I think that's a sleeper. The kid was great in Cleveland when he was healthy.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of injury concerns. That's why people have him really low. But I think if he has a full healthy season, he's got a good quarterback at Ryan Tannehill throwing the ball now. They have a lot of good receivers to open things up. I think Jordan Cameron is going to become a solid fantasy tight end. He's going to catch, probably 4 or 5 balls, maybe more a game, and he's going to be a red zone threat. So he's got the opportunity to score a couple touchdowns every game.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't take him early like Gronk. I mean,
No, definitely not.
You've got the same injury concerns, though.
Right.
I mean, it's all about can he stay healthy? And, I mean, he hasn't proven himself like Gronk, but, I mean, if you're going to take Gronk early, why not, right? I mean, what do you think, like 5th round or something probably?
Yeah, that's probably about right.
You're not going to have to overpay for him, and
a guy like Cameron, you can get him as late as I think I got him in our league in the 12th.
Yeah,
I mean he was one of the last tight ends on the board. I mean,
he'll be on the board a while probably. I would make sure to take somebody with him either to start ahead of him or for your bench.
For sure.
I mean, that injury concern is pretty high with him.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of a guy to draft with him, my other sleeper, who was a stud last year, I think he's going to be great, is Delaney Walker from Tennessee.
Yeah.
The guy, he's a grizzled vet. He's got a young Marcus Mariota throwing him the ball. He's a reliable target. The guy's going to catch passes. He's going to put up fantasy points. He's going to score touchdowns. He's got potential to be a top 5 tight end. And, and where you can get him value-wise, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, tight end's definitely a position where people tend to really overpay. We've all seen the tight end run in the 5th round where everyone's taken, someone's taken Owen Daniels like the 3rd pick in the 5th round, and it's like, I mean, why?
Right.
You could be getting someone much, much better who's going to put up much better points every week for you in that position. If you don't fall prey to that whole scheme, then you just hold out a little bit. You take someone later on, like Jordan Cameron. You take him a little later on. You've still got a solid pick sitting on your roster.
I agree with you, man. And I think tight end's pretty deep this year, but at the same time, there's not a lot of elite guys.
Yeah, it's like quarterbacks have been for a couple years ago. You had your few 2-3 elite guys that were really high up there, and then there was a pretty steep drop off after that. Even though you weren't really getting much of a difference in those after that drop. But anymore, I mean, it's I got Jason Witten like the 8th round. I'm pretty darn happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong. I mean, obviously you're going to see a little bit of a decline, but tight end, it's a tough position. It really is.
Yeah, and I mean, realistically, you see the couple of guys that get a lot of the press. You get Rob Gronkowski and Jimmy Graham making a lot of headlines, right?
Right.
So everyone thinks, tight end's this great position. Realistically,
no.
they're not going to be putting up that many fantasy points for you in general unless it's those top couple of guys.
Yeah. So we talked a lot about tight ends. I think it's time to. We're not going to talk about kickers at all because I think it's just.
It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
The biggest thing I think is as long as you take someone who's going to be on a team where they're looking to kick.
Yeah.
And they're not always going to make a touchdown. I picked up Mason Crosby for that reason. I'm not entirely convinced they're going to be punching in touchdowns every drive this year in Green Bay. So why not take a shot at him?
Yeah. When it comes to kickers, just get in the last round. Whatever you get, you get. Don't worry too much about it.
Yeah.
But defenses are a little bit more important.
Yeah, they have the potential to score you a lot of points every week.
And if you can get some of these top units here, they'll help you out a lot. I have Seattle ranked number 1, which I think is pretty safe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guys know how to tackle.
Yeah.
They know how to pick off balls. I mean, Seattle's always solid. Richard Sherman, Michael Bennett. These guys are just they're gonna get sacks, they're gonna get picks, they're gonna get forced fumbles, fumble recoveries, defensive touchdowns, all over the place.
Yeah, you're looking at a real good squad there.
So I've seen them go way too early though. I've seen the Seattle defense go in the 5th round in one of my drafts.
Well, just like tight ends,
nuts.
Everyone gets on that. Everyone gets one. Someone takes a defense, then the defense run goes. Everyone wants a defense then.
Yeah.
Realistically, you don't need it that early.
Right. I mean, the defensive unit that you should be able to get a little bit later, that's going to be dominant, is Houston.
For sure.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I have them ranked number 2, and I think J.J. Watt's phenomenal. They have Jadeveon Clowney now back healthy. Brant. They have Cushing. All those guys. I think they're going to have a solid defensive season, score a lot of fantasy points, and love Houston this year.
Yeah.
I might be in the minority, but I have Buffalo ranked number 3.
I don't know. They're definitely up there. I might switch them with St. Louis there at 4, but both teams are going to do really well defensively this year. I mean, St. Louis is looking really good. Bills are looking really good. I mean, once after the Seahawks and the Texans, it's kind of that same thing. You got your couple really good teams there, but once you pass them up, you're really not looking at anything. You're going to get pretty average points.
Yeah, I mean, once you kind of get out of the Seattle, Texans, Buffalo category, everything after that is just kind of like, they'll do the job, but you don't have any dominant. The only thing, and I'm going to go, I do have a sleeper on defense. It's not really a sleeper. It's hard to pick a sleeper for defense. But
yeah.
A team that's not getting the respect that they think they should is the Miami Dolphins defense. I mean, they cut the Ndamukong Suh. I mean, these guys are just continuously do it year after year. So I think adding Suh to that already dangerous defense just kind of puts him over the edge, makes him a top 5 unit, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, it's not someone. Definitely don't overpay for any defense, but you know what you're getting with Miami too. But they're going to be solid. You shouldn't be God forbid scoring negative points in your defensive category.
No.
Like some of the later picks, but
But I mean, we went over all our positions except kickers because who cares? Next segment we're gonna have a quick segment here is we have a Twitter page. It's the Fantasy Football Goon, which is at FFBGoon. So people send us questions, pretty frequently now, and we answer all tweets and questions. So I figured I should read some of the questions that we got, and Steve and I will Steve and I will give you some answers. So let's see. First one on the board is, let me scroll here. 2-keeper league, deciding between Marshawn Lynch, Antonio Brown, and Calvin Johnson.
Oh, that's rough.
Who do you keep?
Marshawn Lynch, Antonio Brown, and Calvin Johnson.
Those are the three to choose from. Yes.
I think you got to go. You got to go Lynch and Antonio Brown.
I agree. That's what I replied back, and I just think nothing against Calvin, but I just think those are the two guys that are gonna get you the most.
When Calvin Johnson does have an injury, a little bit of an injury health concern there, so. But I mean, he's a great pick still. It's just I think Antonio Brown does it a little better, And why wouldn't you take a top back for your number one back spot and a top receiver for your number one receiver spot, right?
Yeah.
Start off the draft on the right foot.
Then we got another question here from Andrew G 1384. Would you go C.J. Anderson over Antonio Brown? And do you think Ronnie Hillman is just a change of pace guy? I honestly think I would take Anderson over Brown at this point because I like Anderson in the 6th spot. We talked about how good he is earlier, and Hillman's a change of pace guy. Obviously, he could be a handcuff later in the draft.
Yeah.
If you take Hillman, but I definitely think C.J. Anderson gets taken over Antonio Brown.
I would tend to agree, depending on your pick. I mean, if you're a later pick, something like if you're looking at like the 9th or 10th pick, I mean, you got to see if C.J. Anderson's even still there. If he's there, I would take him. If not, Antonio Brown.
No, that's fair. That's definitely fair. So let's see. What else we got. Let's keep going. What kind of tweets do we got here? Why can't I find it? Sorry guys, I'm terrible at this. This is my first time going through trying to read tweets over this, and I'm just scrolling aimlessly. Oh, I can't find anything. What is wrong with me? Well, I put a couple tweets in there. Luckily, I can't. I'm not gonna keep dragging this on because we're already over an hour. But if you're still here, you guys rock. Thanks for listening to us. We'll do another quick pitch here before we go. You guys are listening to the Fantasy Football Goon podcast. Please visit our website, www.fantasyfootballgoon.com, and join our email list. Check us out on Twitter. Give us a follow. Check us on Facebook. Give us a like. And then find us on YouTube and subscribe. I mean, we will be doing these once a week and posting them for you guys to check out. So please come back. Send us tweets. Send us questions. We're here to talk. I'm Joe Mandel, the Fantasy Football Goon. This is Steve Nowabilski, also known as Knobs. Thanks for listening, and we hope to hear from you guys soon. Take it easy. Bye.